All right, y'all, MadStrange podcast. Today we got the homegirl Tania Thorne, who's also KPPS reporter. Got Dezzy in the house.
Yo, what's going on?
Yeah, man, yeah. So very excited to have you here. You're actually our first female, official solo female guest on the show. But I've been wanting to get you on for a minute because we've worked together. You covered some of the work that we do with resilience. And the fact that your story, you're local, and you get to cover North County, and I know that you're always like showing mad love to Oceanside. So yeah, man, thank you for coming.
Thank you. It's an honor. I mean, I think everyone who is a true O-Sider has heard about you and the work you're doing. And so, I mean, it's an honor because for me, you guys are doing the real work. And obviously everybody knows Dezzy and his music. I mean, so thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, and you pulled up to the MadStrange store. So what'd you say? You said you came here the other day? And then they were closed?
Yeah. It was like 6:30. I'm looking for a gift, and I'm like, all right, let me go pick something up. And I'm like, what the heck? It's closed. And they open at noon the next day. I'm like, shit.
But you can go online to madstrange.com.
Wait, tell her the reason, though, why Jimmy usually...
So they close because what ends up happening, Andres runs the store with Big B. And that's what we call him, Big B, Brian. And usually...
The big dude.
Yeah.
The one that sold me like a couple stuff, and... I don't know, he needs to smile a little more. He's like a little, I'm like, help me.
Tell him that, Big B, you got to smile more.
Big B, I've been in here a couple times, and you need to smile a little bit more.
Big B, the customers are unsatisfied with your smiles, man.
Not unsatisfied. No. He's a little intimidating.
No, he's a big teddy bear, man.
But he's a ladies' man, though. He's a ladies' man.
He's a good dude, man. But no, so what they usually do is they'll close at 5 and they'll try to catch, what did they call it, the golden hour? Mm-hmm. So they'll go and take pictures. So this team operates as a very tight-knit team. So everything that they do is them individually. So they're always posting, but that means like they close at 5 and then they'll go post. Or this dude's going to the studio, or they got Bishop going to the studio, or someone's going to the studio.
Are they hiring?
I mean...
It's a lot. I feel like everybody here plays more than one position, so it's...
Yeah.
It's a team effort.
Yeah, it takes a lot. Yeah, for sure. And it's very tight-knit, so like I think that's what makes it effective as well. So like everyone's always communicating. But yeah.
You work with the team? Or is just you?
It depends. So what we have is a North County bureau. Right. So, the studio is at SDSU. Mm-hmm. And right now it's under construction. So COVID, construction, nobody's really there. So we don't even really have a functioning studio. And so when I got hired on in October, I just kind of was working from home by myself. Sometimes I get a camera guy, sometimes I don't. Mm-hmm. I mean, we got a camera guy for resilience.
Yeah. But then you came back, because you came like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Because you came to the site when we used to be here off mission. And then you went to Navarre's boxing.
Yeah.
You filmed that yourself.
Yeah.
And then you came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was 3, yeah.
So I am like a one-woman show. Because I have my camera in my trunk and all this little setup. I mean, I'm familiar with it. So there are times I get help, but a lot of the times because I live in Oceanside, there's just no time, right? Like if there's news happening and there's a camera guy all the way in San Diego and it's happening in 30 minutes an hour, I'm like running with my camera. It's not a luxurious job at all. They make it seem like, oh, she's a news reporter, but no, like it's
and you
tough.
got to go back and edit and all that, right? So like how often does your story, I always see your stories like once a week, twice a week, something like that?
It depends. I mean, like this week I did one story, but I did it twice. So San Diego Unified High School District, there's like so much drama happening there. Have you heard? Yeah. So it's just crazy, right? So board meeting yesterday, a lot of just so many different things happening. And so it's hard. I mean, it's hard to really be balanced and fair and get everybody's voice. So that was a really tough story for me to do. And so I, went to the rally yesterday, live shot. And then today I did a follow-up as to like what happened in the meeting because it went until like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Dang. So it's tough, it's a little tolling.
Tanya's with the business though, man. Anytime there's like a community issue, even like with the Junior Sale Amphitheater, like she'll call and she's like, yo, I'm trying to cover this. Like anytime that she can help, and we've used her stories to get like, sometimes like the community doesn't know. So Tanya will do a story on it and then like we put it on Facebook and social media and then it gets the community involved because just shining a little bit of light will make a big difference. And so it's like, no, I appreciate you.
No, thank you. I mean, it's really tough though, because I am the only probably North County reporter And, North County is a news desert. A lot of people,
Yeah.
like, I interned at Channel 10, and I remember there was something happening in Oceanside, and they didn't want to make the drive. They're
Yeah.
like, they only come out here for, like, the murders and
Yeah.
the grisly stuff. So I think, that's part of the reason of why Oceanside has gotten a bad rep. And I think North County, Vista, Escondido, they only cover certain things that I, don't agree with, but that's because I grew up here. So I am a little biased to that, but it is hard because it's just me, and I have to cover things happening in Vista, Escondido, Oceanside, Cardiff, Del Mar, and I'm one person.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I've been trying to cover Operation Hope, so many things. I have literally like a list of stories I need to get to, but it's just me, and there's San Dieguito stuff pops up, and things pop up that it's so hard.
Yeah, yeah. So about that, you said you grew up here. So like, tell us a little bit about like where you grew up, like your family, where they're from, where like what schools did you go to, and like how even you got into like becoming a reporter.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. Like I still seriously have to pinch myself because news is such a tough industry to get into. As a Latina, as a woman, as a mother, it's just a very tough job to do because how do you balance it, right? Like usually it's, a single person who's able to move around. And for me to land a job in San Diego, which is a top market, and in my very own backyard where I grew up, it's rare. I mean, I graduated Cal State Fullerton 2020, and I got this job, like my first legit job in my, backyard. So it's crazy. But I mean, I got here to the U.S. when I was 3. My family immigrated from Mexico City, Toluca.
Both parents were from there?
Yeah, both of my parents are from there. And so I got here when I was 3 years old, very, very little. Came with my mom. My dad was already here. And we moved over to some brown apartments right across the street from Los Azules. Everybody knows Los Azules.
The Blues,
Yeah. So some brown apartments, and I literally still drive by there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I remember the 2 apartments where, we first got there. Little girl, I mean, 3 years old, I don't remember much, but I just remember our furniture was like, we had like 2 chairs that my dad had found like in the trash. Yeah. So very, like not the brightest memories that I have, but very vague memories of things like that.
So for those that don't know, what she's referring to is the area in Center Street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Crown Heights, yeah.
Yeah, not exactly Center Street, but that area.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Grant Street. So after the apartments, my family got a little bit of money, moved to a 2-bedroom house on Grant Street, 334 Grant Street. And I mean, it was like your typical immigrant household. We had 2 bedrooms. I was sharing a room with my mom and dad. And, I'm a little girl, so sharing a room with my mom and dad. We had my brother, who had also came from Mexico to join us, sleeping in the living room. We had my uncle sleeping in the living room. We had a family friend sleeping in the 2nd bedroom, and there was like another roommate. So, a typical immigrant household, but honestly, like some of the best memories. Christmases, like it was just fun. I think when you're little, you don't really realize like you're an immigrant. You don't see any of that. My family was fortunate that we got here with a tourist visa.
Mm-hmm.
So we were still able to travel to Mexico, visit family in Ensenada. We kind of got some family in Ensenada too. And so growing up, I was like, I'm Mexican, but I never realized like what status and being a resident and having papers was.
Right,
because,
right.
you don't really realize that.
Right.
And so it wasn't up until probably middle school when I wanted to audition for cheerleading that I found out, oh, shit, I don't have papers.
Were you going to Lincoln?
Yeah, I was. So I went to Ditmar like 1 year and then went to San Rafael when it was still, open. And then my fifth grade, they closed down the school and then went to Lincoln Middle School. And then after that, my parents purchased property in Vista. So I was so upset I didn't get to be a pirate. It's like you grow up in Oceanside, you want your high school graduation to be at the pier, and my parents bought property in Vista, so I got to be a Longhorn.
I feel like the whole MadStrange team. I found out the other day we did a podcast with Coach Z at Oceanside High School, and it was like I was like the only person in the room that didn't take his class and wasn't an Oceanside pirate because I grew up in Tri-City. I grew up in Tri-City, so like you go to.
Oh, you're a Wildcat.
Yeah, I went to El Camino, and so like that area of Tri-City that I lived, it was crazy too because like where I lived on Roselle, So if you lived on Roselle, in certain parts of Roselle, you went to El Camino. But if you lived
Yeah.
across the street, you went to RBV.
That's
And-
such
and
a
so-
weird border for
Yeah,
Oceanside.
so like a lot of people that I grew up with, like we'd all get home from school and go play basketball, play football. Like we'd kick it together after school, but we would go to different, like we grew up together, but we'd go to different schools.
Yeah, that's such a weird border of Oceanside.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so, you know, it was fun. I mean, I didn't have a bad childhood at all. It was fun, but, you know, I realized I didn't have papers. Luckily, I had a visa, so my process to become legalized was a lot easier than someone that enters the country without
Right, right.
documentation. So now I'm a U.S. citizen.
What'd your parents do, like for a living?
My mom has worked at Café Rosarita, which is a Mexican restaurant. It's still where Boney's used to be, and now I think it's Sprouts or Fraser Farms on Oceanside Boulevard.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
so-
it's Sprouts.
Yeah, I think it's Sprouts
yeah.
now, right? But so there's a little Mexican restaurant right in the corner that's been there probably for like 30 years now. And she's worked there since I could remember.
Wow.
And it's not like the most authentic
Yeah.
Mexican food. Like they don't even have horchata. So that's how non-authentic it is. But she's been there for 30 years. And, you know, that was my first job.
Yeah.
And I was
I'm
like
working
14.
there too. Yeah. That's what's up.
So it's
Your
like,
dad?
you know, same place.
Same place.
Same
Oh, okay.
place. So they just, you know, they got really lucky. My mom never really had to do tough jobs, you know. You know, like I said, I feel very lucky with the life that I've been handed. So, yeah, it was fun, you know. I grew up here. I mean, you know, Center Street was rough. It was a rough neighborhood. And I think maybe my life might have looked different if I hadn't moved to Vista. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when did like wanting to be a journalist kick in? Like was that at RBV or?
No, honestly, it wasn't probably until I went to college. So I graduated RBV, started going to Maricosta just to kind of get my GED. And I was like, you know, like any other kid, it's like, what are you going to do with your life? Nobody really knows. Maybe Dezzy. You know, I don't know when you found out you wanted to be this hot superstar.
His whole life?
You know?
Not my whole life, but probably like in high school. I was like selling CDs in high school. And the moment I wanted to like pursue it, was like around the time where like I was able to actually like make a cool dollar off of selling CDs at high school. And it was like a lot of encouragement because a lot of my peers were supporting me. But I was lucky because like doing music in high school, like you see people every day. So like if you tell so many people that you're doing music, like the word's gonna spread. Because like the time when I was doing it was the CDs and more word of mouth. Now people are blowing up with the internet, but at the time of high school, when I was going to high school, it was a lot of word of mouth. So I was always promoting myself. And it was in high school where I kind of like figured out I wanted to do it like forever.
See, but that's awesome. Like I'm jealous of that because I feel like when you figure out what you're passionate about, especially when you're young, like you're just working towards that. Mm-hmm. And like, look at you, you know, you're pretty successful. And so I'm jealous, you know, because, yeah.
I tell a lot of people, a lot of artists that I'm lucky, but I'm not lucky. I'm lucky because I made up my mind at such a young age, but then I'm not lucky because I'm from Oceanside, you know. It's the greatest city in the world, but it's also like something that has to be discovered. So I'm also lucky because I'm in the position to do that, but I'm unlucky because there's, you know, I'm the underdog, but I love it, you know.
Did you feel like that too, like being a journalist? And so like in the work that I do, when someone gets shot, someone gets killed, all the news trucks pull up. Mm-hmm. NBC, ABC, Fox, everyone comes. But then when you do something positive in the community and you ask them to come, it's like they don't, unless if you have that personal relationship. And there was times I had I don't know if you know her, but her name was Danya Backus, and she's not here no more, but she was at NBC. And I met her when something happened at one of the programs, not at one of the programs, but one of the neighborhoods that I used to work at in Libby Lake. She came and she just like developed a relationship with the kids in that program when they were freshmen. And she kind of just like would come even when she wasn't working, come from San Diego just to like be like some inspiration and be like, no, I grew up in a tough area too, and I'm just gonna come and like, you can be around someone that's pursuing their dreams, like you, right, or like you. And whenever we had something positive, she would make it a point to tell like, no, I'm gonna go there and cover it. And that same group of kids, like when they became seniors, she covered them graduating, like sharing their stories about like what propelled them into like doing, you know, helping the community. But if you don't have a reporter like yourself, like very intentional, like, no, I'm gonna cover that, they ain't gonna come. Because if you need a feel good story, you can just go to Southeast San Diego, or like, why am I gonna drive all the way down the 5 or the 15 to go to Escondido to like, and then have to drive all the way back? Because all like the major news stations are in downtown San Diego. You know what I mean? So like when she came on from KPBS and she was like, I don't know how we connected, but like she was just like, yeah, I've been like, it's my job to cover North County, and I'm from here. I think it might have been with the Brook Street Pool.
Yeah.
It might have been when they were trying to close down the Brook Street Pool, and she was like, nah, like, and she also told me, she was like, look, they always push back on me because I only, like, not I only, but I'm always just trying to do Oceanside. I'm always pitching Oceanside stories. And then they have to tell me like, yo, like there's other cities in North County.
Yeah.
But the fact that she like reps that hard for the city, like and the stories that you're covering for the most part, they're like positive, you know what I mean? Unless if it's like an issue, but like it takes people like you two who are like, have a platform and are gonna highlight what locals appreciate and put a positive light on Oceanside. But it's dope to see two people from here pursuing their dreams and being successful at it and growing and like always working on your crafts, because it provides inspiration to like others to be like, damn, like Tania like lived near the blues, like, and look what she's doing. Like Dezzy, man, like I had a kid tell me not too long, maybe a couple years ago, he was like, dang man, I seen Dezzy riding his bike over here on Fireside. It was like by Fredericks or something. It's actually like 5 years ago. And he was like, not riding a bike like you're trying to get somewhere. You were just cruising in a beach cruiser.
Right,
he said, I'm cruising.
right.
I know that sounds bad, right? He's like Devo riding around. No, he's like, I saw Dezzy cruising a beach cruiser like around like
through the streets, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, bro, like that's where he's from. He was like, yeah, I know, but it was just crazy to see it. Yeah. But like that perspective, you know what I mean? So it's just like,
no, I see that you're definitely like painting, like giving light on even the gentrification that you do covered. I watched a couple of them, and it's crazy how things have changed, you know, downtown. Like, how do you feel like about the downtown and how things have changed?
You know, I grew up here, and I consider myself an outsider. I mean, I'm very lucky to now live here again, and my kids are growing up here. But it's not anything, you know, what it was from when I was growing up. I mean, you know, it's a double-edged sword, because you want to hold on to, you know, the old Oceanside and just how it was. But at the same time, I'm very happy for the growth, because Oceanside, you know, like you just said, you know, you're not that lucky because you're from here. So, you know, you are, though, because now Oceanside is evolving, and I promise you, I think in the next 5 years, it's going to change a lot, and you're going to see more news out here. You're going to see more people, more money, more growth. I mean, downtown Oceanside is exploding, and people are jumping on it. So I think, and especially because you're, you know, very well known as, you rep Oside, I feel like you're not unlucky. Like, you just, you know, got into the game early, and if anything, it just makes you more authentic, right? Because you're going through those changes. But, you know, I feel like it's a good thing. It's tough to see, you know, neighborhoods like Center, Pozole, even down in the valley, like those families. I don't know what's gonna happen. I might get priced out of here.
Yeah, a lot of people are, you know, relocating, and it's crazy because they have like a new section in Oceanside that was never a neighborhood, but it's getting to the point where it's like they're relocating everybody to that area.
Yeah, but that was like inevitable, you know what I mean? Like, and you know, anyone that's been around me, I've been saying this for a minute. It's like, look, man, everyone's gonna move east, and if we don't start providing services for the folks that live in the valley, like more towards the valley in Tri-City, like that's where everyone's moving to. If you can afford to live in the valley in Tri-City.
And a lot of people are moving all the way to even Temecula.
Yeah.
Marietta.
Yeah.
Moreno Valley.
The housing market is crazy. It's scary times. It's really scary times. And I mean, you're a dad. I don't know about Dezzy, but with our kids, it's like scary. You know, like what's their future gonna look like with how crazy it is here in San Diego?
I'm like, the way that I look at it, it's like, I'm gonna do what I can. I'm gonna do whatever I have to stay. You know what I mean?
Mr. Law School over here.
Yeah, well, no, but I'm not leaving Oceanside. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, but at the same time, it's just like, yeah, it's difficult, you know. But yeah, when we first, my family, when they came from Mexico, they were in Solana Beach because that's where it was affordable to live. Like that's where the jobs were.
That's crazy.
And they lived in La Colonia, right there in Eden Gardens. And when you go there now, it's like you would have never. Me and Juancho went the other day, and I was explaining to him like, yeah, man, this was like an immigrant community. This was like the Center Street of North County before
That's
Center
crazy.
Street. And I was explaining to him, as I'm explaining that to him, like there's like people walking their poodles, you know what I mean? And like, and he was like, this place? I was like, yeah, bro, like this is like.
This was a rough part of North County.
It was, and that's where Little Rob's from.
No, it really was.
And a lot of my family, they came from Mexico, living in poverty, and where they could afford to live was Solana Beach by like Del Mar, right? But then when they gentrified that, folks moved to Encinitas and Carlsbad and eventually Oceanside. And so like you see the same thing happening, but even like the story that you covered on Oceanside and the gentrification, like the history was like when they built this city, it was always meant for it to be what it's becoming right now. Like that was always the intention 100 years ago. The only thing is though, like I always want people like to remember like, yo, we're the third biggest city and downtown is just a small part of the city. Like it really is. Like I know that's where like they're focusing on tourism and development, but like to the folks in Tri-City, like it's still the same. Like, you know what I mean? Other than like the CarMax coming up, like it looks exactly the same. Like the Valley, a lot of it, other than for them building I was about to call it Fresh and Easy, but the dollar store and the Starbucks, I mean, it's not like much different, you know what I mean? And so it's like that part of it, but the rent is like mad expensive, yeah.
I do want to add something, because you know, I thank you for, you know, just thanking me for what I do, but in this job, it's people like you that really make it happen. It's your work, you know, that really like makes my job easier, because I know I can call you at any time and be like, Jimmy, I'm working on this story, hook me up with someone. And anytime I've called you, you've hooked me up with like, you know, authentic people that are doing just good stuff throughout the community. Natalie Sanchez is amazing.
Yo, that was dope. I didn't even know that like you, like, and MadStrange has also like in their Oceansideism series, like back in 2014, you know, she's done stuff with MadStrange and Daniel has worked with her, and Natalie, like me and her connected during that time when the reporters were coming all the time because of what had happened to her family. But like to see how that incident like propelled her into become a community. She's the voice for that neighborhood, you know what I mean? And so like a lot of times people are like, hey, like we want to do something there. And I was like, you know, I call Natalie first. And then like from there we game plan on what
I don't really
do.
call you anymore. I call Natalie
I
now.
do too, but I do too. You know what I mean? It's like that's always been my, and I told you that. I said, yo, Natalie's the go-to. Like I have always been the middleman between like, and I don't have to be, but like, I'm like, oh, just call Natalie. Like she's a beast, you know? And so, but the fact that you covered her, that was dope.
Yeah, no, you know what? And I recently talked about her in this roundtable thing we did over elections, since elections are coming up. And, you know, I think it's people like Natalie that are really making the difference in our community. You know, she recently was telling me about speaking up for a parent that wanted to volunteer at school. And the district was telling her, like, she needs to provide documentation. And, you know, it's like this little Mexican lady.
Yeah.
And she's going with Natalie to volunteer at the school. And so Natalie spoke up for her and was like, what do you mean? She has to pay some ridiculous fee and show documentation? Like, you know, she gets people involved, and she's bringing these, you know, parents that are usually very shy and not outspoken to city council meetings and the school board meetings. And I love that about her. And, you know, I think with elections, like, I think it's still, you know, an area that we need people like you, need people like Natalie to really push voices to get more involved, because you know, the involvement just isn't there yet. But it takes people like Natalie and like you and like Dezzy, you know, promote elections over here.
Yo, whenever, that's the dope thing about Dezzy. Like whenever there's something going on in the community, like Dezzy's like, yo, just he uses his platform and like he's.
I try to get behind whatever's going on.
He always has, and he doesn't have to. You know what I mean? Because he's like he's in music, but like that always just shows you like his heart for Oceanside. But like MadStrange, man, like I was telling you, like every time I've been involved in like an advocacy, like community visual project to get the community, like, because we couldn't get reporters to like, hey, like this issue is going on, we need to like, I'd call Daniel and like we'd go drive around Oceanside, he'd have his camera and like we're filming and interviewing Natalie and other people, and then we're posting it on social media. Like we were our own news, you know what I mean? And it was always through MadStrange. And now that, you know, we have like the honor to have someone that has such a large following, it helps to be like, you know, me and Daniel were driving around making these videos. Dezzy can just put it on his story,
Yeah.
and it reaches like, I don't know, you got all the followers. And so like, no, I think it takes everyone like coming together, and for those that care to like give back, but also use their platform to like make a difference, and the way that they can, because you know it's different for everybody.
I think it's a team effort. Everybody puts their 2 cents in wherever they can, and it's hard for me because covering North County, I have to remain very balanced, and my bias does come up because I live here, and I love Oceanside. I'm always, anytime there's an Oceanside story, like if you just look at the stories I've covered, it's a large percentage of them are in Oceanside, and it's tough, but it's the 3rd largest city, and I think it's the city in North County right now that's seeing so much growth and so much happening. It's diverse,
Right.
and there's a lot happening. So for me, it's special. I mean, it's a full circle moment because, I think just not long ago I went, maybe like a month ago, I went back to Center Street, and I did a story on the apartments that are right in front of the park that are veteran housing now.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
There's a lot of changes taking place.
I'm like, what the heck? There was like volunteers, helping build this housing for the veterans, and I'm like, Jesus, like it's changed so much. And then I see the lonchera, and I'm like, damn, dude, I remember going and buying pizzarolas there. And so I go up to the lady, and I'm like chopping it up with her, and she's like, oh yeah, there's still 50 cents. I'm like, what? So I bought some pizzarolas and had like a full, like memory lane, and they
That's
still
dope.
taste the same. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. And that's another story I want to work on too, because I remember when it was like the Doña Felipa's lonchera, and then it passed on to Doña Leticia, and now it's this.
But if you don't know the community, like you don't understand like that, man, that's where people go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, it's very community focused.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what makes, and to me, like working with like the city council and government officials and different things going on, I'm always like, look, there's a way that you can develop and still preserve the culture of the city, because like we want to preserve what makes us unique, right? So like if we have tourists coming in, like they should be able to see like, damn, there's a strong like Mexican population here, there's a strong Samoan population, Filipino population, African American population, and they've all contributed to the history of Oceanside, and that should be seen in our murals, our art. You can still have development, but preserve like what makes us unique, you know? And obviously your music does that. He did an interview recently in LA like 2 days ago, and the host, big platform, and asked him, he was like, bro, like you're one of the few that I see that can like cross like racial barriers, but very authentic in the way that you do it. You're not trying to, that's just what you're doing. And he was like, man, like it's because where I grew up. And so like I don't have to try. It's just like that's what I was raised.
Yeah, I was
to do.
breaking it down to him that growing up here is very diverse. So he was asking me like, how am I able to connect with so many different type of races? And I told him, being from here, you get used to being around so much diversity, and it's just natural, because if I'm rapping about my city, it's like a diverse city. It's like it's gonna connect with multiple races,
Do you realize you're doing that? Like, what, I don't know, as you're writing or?
I don't know. It's just natural. I'm just talking about things that are in the city. And a lot of it is happening in other cities of different like cultural backgrounds, and man, I've been through all the streets of Oceanside, and I'm very familiar to be able to paint a picture of all these different sections instead of just mine, so I'm in a good position.
So how do you feel about the change? Because, obviously your music is inspired by where you grew up and the people in the city, and Oceanside is changing. So do you think your music is evolving along with those changes?
I think the reason why people from Oceanside are supportive of my music is because I kind of paint a picture of that original Oceanside, and how I remember it. But for the most part, the city developing and changing and all that, I see it, and sometimes I throw it in my music here and there. But for the most part, I mainly just focus on like the feeling of how Oceanside used to be, and I think a lot of people from the city like see that even in my videos. I have a lot of like history in my videos. I have a lot of like landmarks in Oceanside that aren't there no more. And I'm lucky to be able to have that. And like you said, me being able to do this at a younger age until now, I was able to like almost capture so many different areas of Oceanside that aren't even there or have been built over again, or you know,
Yeah.
it's crazy, man.
That's
Like
history, though.
there's
That's
a
like
there's a,
historical
there's a lot
documentation.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of like landmarks in my videos over the time that aren't there, and it's crazy. Even especially the most special spot that we shot at was the swap meet.
Oh yeah.
I used to go to the swap meet a lot as a child because I lived in that neighborhood. I used to just walk over.
That was like your Sunday outing.
Yeah, I used to just walk over and you see people from every neighborhood there, all the way to like Escondido there, selling, people just walking around. Like it was a good time. Like the smell of like all these different foods.
It was hot. It was hot as hell.
Right. It's in the middle. It was in the middle of like a little.
I think it was
valley.
a song with G.H. Pancho, right? That you filmed during. He filmed like on a Sunday, like
during the swap.
During the swap meet, yeah.
But no, there's just. I had even been living there back in the day where I can just sit on my roof and watch a movie when they had the screens playing. Bro, I had so many like memories there. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I saw the last movie I saw there was like Lethal Weapon.
Last one I seen was Blade. Blade, yeah.
I didn't even get to that. I was too young for that.
Yeah, my dad used to eat the big metal speakers you would put inside.
Oh, that's so awesome.
No, that was a good time. Yeah. The drive-in theaters, and I think we were like the only one like in North County. Is there another drive-in theater in North County?
I don't think at that
Santee.
time. Santee.
Yeah, it's like San Diego, but like we were.
Yeah.
We had some dope like spots out here. You know, we even had like. I don't know if you remember downtown Oceanside. They had like a huge skate park.
Yeah, over there where the resort is.
Right when you walk under the tunnel, it's a huge skate park.
I remember that tunnel didn't even exist, bro. That tunnel, like,
It's crazy. We could go on forever talking about different areas of Oceanside, but like I said, I'm in a good position to be able to capture the history of Oceanside as I keep doing my career.
Are you a little mad about the changes?
Nah, not mad, but I guess. I don't know. Not mad though. It just gives me like a feeling of like, damn, like all of my memories are not going away, but it's like if it's not there anymore, I'm not gonna remember it because it's not in my face, you know. But I'm not mad. No.
I think it's really tough. You know, it's like you want to hold on to it, but you know that it's inevitable.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think there's a way that you can do it where it's like you preserve the integrity of the community and you can bring like the development. I think what the locals want is to be included in the process. You know what I mean? Not like find out after the fact. Yeah. Like, damn, the swap meet's gone. Oh, they're gonna build like a wave water park there. It's like, but they find out after
it's been approved and
then
stamped.
The city will be like, oh, but we put it on like OPD's website. You know what I mean? Or we put it on the city's website for you to like participate in the survey. And it's like, man, people from the community ain't gonna like, they ain't even following you.
They're not gonna see that unless Jimmy posts that.
Yeah, or you post it, or we call Tanya and say, hey, Tanya, can you do a story on this? Like the Brook Street pool, you came in clutch with that because like then we were able to like just share. I think, did you cover like when they were trying to close down the school?
You know what? For that,
I think you did. You covered.
No. I know I covered it, and Brook Street pool for me is so special because I remember walking there to night pool. Yeah. You know, from Grant Street, crossing the bridge and going to night pool, and it was like the best memories. And now I went back to shoot that story. I did it by myself. And I'm like, damn, this pool is tiny. I can't believe we were all these little like
big,
kids from the hood. I'm like, oh God, like, oh God, I don't even want to know what I was swimming in, right?
It felt big though.
Dude, I remember when that was happening, I had gone on maternity leave. And I literally came back for that story.
She was like, I remember she hit me up. I think that's what we meant. You're like, yo, this is some BS.
Yeah, I was
she was
so
like,
upset.
She was hot. Usually it's like the residents that are hot.
Yeah.
Tanya's like, nah, this is some BS. Like,
no,
who do I need to
remember
talk to?
coming
like,
back. And I remember I was like, I just had my kids. Like, I had my kids in December, and I came back from maternity leave in February. And I told my editor, I was like, I don't want anybody else to cover this. Yeah. Like, you do not let anybody else cover this. I'm going to do this.
But again, though, like, in the social media age that we live in, it's like when someone covers a story and then it's painting the light that the community's, like, not, like, flipping it. You know what I'm saying? Not being led by, like, the council members or whatever. But it's like you're listening to the community voices. Then we can just share it. Yeah. And then it takes on a life of its own, and it becomes its own, like, advocacy. You know what I mean? And so, like, and then, obviously, like, you know, we just get Dezzy on the line, and he's always like, what's going on? And we explain, and then he's like, okay, yeah, for sure.
Once the word's out there, like, people are going to get behind it, especially Oceansiders. Like, Oceanside is so supportive.
Yeah.
It's so supportive. And when you're trying to take away a landmark like that, people will show up.
Amphitheater, yo?
Yeah.
it was, you couldn't even, like, you had to wait outside to get in. Like, when you pulled up,
Yeah, I was
like, I think we
outside
were right at the
because there
same
was like a
time.
line
Yeah,
to
like you
get
got
in.
but it just shows you, like, yeah, we're busy, we got a lot going on, and a lot of people who like feel it don't live near downtown. You know, like they're living in the valley, or like we're living on the other side of the 5, most of us, right? And but we all showed up, man. People like for the amphitheater, people like came out thick, like, yeah. They didn't have enough time. If they would have let everybody speak, they would have been there until like 11 p.m.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of speakers.
Yeah.
No, I loved seeing that, but I think in order for Oceanside to hold on to some of its culture and some of its roots, there needs to be community involved.
Yeah.
People need to speak up, and it's hard to get people to speak up because they have a life going on, and city council meetings they don't understand. And so I think, if we want to preserve some of Oceanside's originality, it's really down to, getting people involved in the community and letting them know about stuff.
Right, the people that are important, that have a voice. I feel you on that.
But I think it's also like people that look like us. You know what I'm saying? And like having parents that are immigrants, and like, and almost like you get pushed in this space, like, man, like, can you say something? And then you're like, well, damn, like, okay, I'll say something, because you feel like you have the ability to. Not that everybody does, but like you feel comfortable in that space now. Through, like, when I first got to city council, man, the first couple times, I was going up there because of what happened in Libby, and we just wanted lights at the park. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about lights. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, it was weird to go up to city council at that time. But then once we got the lights, it was like, well, damn, what else can we get? What else do we need? You know, those experiences, like, was like empowering. You know, and so, were you nervous the first time, like, you got on camera and you covered a story? Was that at KPBS, or you interned?
It was crazy because I never expected to be in journalism. Honestly, I only went into communications to avoid any type of math. I was just
funny.
like, I don't want to do any type of math. What's going to be the one degree that I can say I have a bachelor's degree, but I don't know. I don't want to take all this crazy math because I'm not good at it. So I went into communications because they said you have to take one math class. I'm like, perfect, sign me up.
Statistics?
Yep. I was like, sign me up. That's for me. And I love talking, right? Like, I'm just such a people person. I talk to people wherever I go. And now that I think about it, I was like, damn, dude, I really, like, got my degree in chisme. Like, that's my job, I follow the chisme. I hear stuff and I'm like, oh, who said that? Tell me. Can I get you on video? So, and I just love talking to people. I love sharing people's voices and hearing different points of views. But I never expected to have this, especially bringing it back to Oceanside, because it's tough. KPBS is known to not be like your Fox, your Channel 10, your KUSI. They don't cover the crash of the day.
Yeah.
If they're more in depth, and that's what I do love about them, that they're more about, they really do let me run with my stories. If I have an idea, as long as I can picture it and have the right voices, they let me run with it. But if, for example, there's a bunch of food drives going on, we've seen a lot of food drives, right? We like to look deeper into it and look at why are all these food drives happening? What's going on to the people? What's the need? What are they going through? And so I'm really glad that they do let me, run free with the stories, but that takes people like you and just people talking to me too. I tell everybody, like, everybody has my cell number. I'm like, if you hear anything, you see something, you screenshot whatever it is, like, I'm literally a text away. And there's so much going on, but.
And it's also finding, like, a journalist, say, you can trust, because the work that I do sometimes, it's like, when we had Danya Backus in here from NBC, like, I trusted her because I know I can tell her a story, or she would, like, man, one time we had a news station that came down and wanted to interview one of the kids who had been shot, and he had recovered, and it was more about, like, we had developed a mentoring program at Libby Elementary, and she's like, hey, I want to cover that. But the moment that she came, the trial was still going on, and she started asking questions about the trial. In the middle of the conversation, he's like, yo, cut. He's like, Jimmy, is she serious? He's like, mind you, it was like one of the kids from, like, the neighborhood, and he was like, not from the neighborhood, but, like, he grew up in the area, and he was like, why would you ask that? He's like, if you're going to ask that again, I'm going to take this mic off, this conversation is over. 17-year-old kid, you know what I mean? And she kind of looked at me, and I was like, yo, like, you didn't say that you were going to come and ask that. Yeah. And then they'll film you for 30 minutes, and then they'll edit it in such a way to get the story that they already wanted coming in. Whereas like with Tanya, I don't have to worry about that. Like I trust her, you know, and we can have a conversation. And I think you even showed the story you did for Resilience. You showed it to me.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're supposed to.
no, I didn't. No.
But no. The reality is, But I'll put this. I'll say this. We have kids. Resilience. Like we mentor kids on probation, and so she was more like, look. Well, like juvenile probation, like, will they be cool with this when we show it? You know what I mean?
Well, that was a sensitive story.
Yeah, it was a sensitive story, but you were just like, well, like you guys get in trouble. You know,
Aki got into some things that I'm like, okay, that's definitely not going on, you know, on the news story, but no, that was a sensitive story, you know, but for that story, KPBS freaking loved that story,
and it's helped us get funding.
I know.
You know
I had people hitting me up. We're like, how do we throw money at these kids?
But not just that. Like when people are always like, yo, can you send me some stuff? I always attach that story. And then like we've gotten a lot of funding since then, just like donations and stuff. But a lot of it was based off of like us sharing that story and you covering us. And I trusted you you were like the first reporter or the only reporter I trusted to come in with the camera that wasn't like someone that I knew, to like making sure that we were protecting the integrity and like the privacy of the kids in the program.
It's a lot of pressure, right? Because it's like I have a script written in my mind, then it has to go through my editors, my boss. And at KPBS, there's a reputation for KPBS being very white, right? All of the managers were white.
Are most news stations like that, though?
For the most part, I would say yes and no. I think there's change coming, right? We're seeing change. There's more talk about diversity everywhere. And so I think newsrooms, there's been a big push from Latinos, like getting more Latinos in news, getting more diversity in news. And so at least with KPBS, it's kind of notoriously known that, you know, they were very white, very one-sided. And I'm going to say like probably I was like their first Latina. I was like the token Latina reporter. And so when I did the story on resilience, they loved it because they were like, damn, dude, like, they were very vulnerable with me.
Well,
Sandra was
you
like,
made them feel comfortable to be, you know what I'm saying? Like after like, cause she came in and kicked it, then it was like, oh, okay, like.
Yeah, I always take that approach. I don't want to come in with like a reporter hat. I always like to get to know people and then ask questions, right? And I feel people. Like I feel like I'm pretty good at reading people, and if I can tell you're uncomfortable, I'm not gonna push even deeper. But that story was awesome because, you know, Sandra opened up and Aki shared a lot. And KPBS loved it because they're not used to hearing those voices. So when people open up and share stories like that, stories that people are really going through, right? Like these are things that are happening, not just in Oceanside,
right.
in a lot of neighborhoods. And they're willing to share that story on camera and be very authentic about it. It's rare. And for it to go on the news, I mean, they loved it. They were like, wow.
No, that was dope.
It takes a lot, though, for people to actually share their story on camera. Like, once the camera comes out, like, people get scared.
Oh, they freeze.
Well, how was it for you when you first started doing it? Because now, like, I watched that interview. It was like, I mean, that's a big platform. Like, you were, like, just chilling, man. Like, you're I mean, you do it all the time, but, like, how was it at first? Like, you haven't always explained, like, your music, your inspiration.
For the most part, I think that I'm kind of like pretty like used to doing like interviews or podcasts or even conversations, I would call it. I just been around enough people to where I can like, you know, feel comfortable, and I like to feel people out too.
It's that confidence too, though. I think if, you know, like I said, I think because you knew this is what you wanted to do from very young.
Well, it's a part of it, you know. It's like you have to expect it. Oh, I want to be an artist. Well, people are going to want to know about you. People are going to want to know your business, and the camera's going to be in front of your face. So even though times I don't want the camera, it's kind of like there still, especially with my team, you know. They like to have the camera, like, especially in the candid moments.
Camera's always on with them. Always.
Yeah, for me, I'm always in front of the camera.
But the camera's like, they always have the camera on. Real quick for both of y'all, man, because you film, like, I've seen you film on Mission, just different places. Just like, it's not like you were like, oh, let me wait for this place to die down and I'm going to start filming. You film too, like, and there's people walking. What are some of the crazy moments that you guys experience, like filming and like people maybe like
people interrupting or people, like butting in?
Yeah. Have you had some like crazy like experiences?
I mean, dude, with us, it's like people know you're the news, right? You have the microphone and the camera, so they know. And so for us to do a live shot, it's nerve-wracking. First of all, you're live. Right. I did a live shot like yesterday, and I totally messed up, and I'm like, crap. but also like you have no control over the people in your background. So I know whenever our reporters did a live shot down at the Padres game recently, and with that we're like, how is it gonna go? You know, because the Padres fans and the drinking get rowdy, and we don't want nothing to to go wrong. So it's nerve-wracking, but it's funny. I mean, with at least with the news, they know it's the news. They're like, hey mom, or crazy stuff. So we just have to be careful, and unless it's live, we can edit around it.
Have you had some crazy moments?
Luckily for me, I don't do too much live like outdoors like that. Like interviews sometimes.
Well,
like
not
that,
live, even when you're filming music videos, like, because people now like
music videos, yeah. But luckily we
Wait,
can cut it.
how is that? Sorry, I hate to interrupt, but when I was at the lonchera, maybe it wasn't you, I don't know. The lady was like, sí, estaba un muchacho aquí, y estaban cantando y no sé qué in front of the lonchera.
Were you rapping
Was
in front
that
of
you?
like the lunch lady? You've done. I think
No,
you did.
it was probably somebody from the neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so funny. Like, so they just stand here and rap? Like, is that how your videos go?
Nah. So
Like, how does that go?
I mean, I shoot so much videos that they vary. Some I'll have like a whole production, like a whole crew.
It's planned, like
People are all like hired to do whatever. And then sometimes I'll do it where it's just like, all right, me, I hire a girl, let's go shoot a video. We're on a date. We'll do it easy. They all vary. Or we'll even do some, for instance, where we'll just shoot a bunch of B-roll of the city and put it over a song. And then I just do my performances somewhere. But it's all different. Like everything's shot different.
what do you think is like the biggest, like, was it like the Little Rob or Dub C? Do you feel like those were like big productions? Like, because it was like all day shoots, right?
Yeah, those the Little Rob and the Dub C. Usually when I bring an artist down to do like a feature, I have to definitely have the whole production. But I mean, it gets pricey,
Yeah.
That's super fun though, because it's creative. Like that's the one thing that I don't have a lot of control over, right? Like I want to be creative and do more fun stuff, but it's the news, right? So we have to kind of keep it very I don't know, I guess G, or just very basic. And that's why I was so excited that they let me use the Oceanside Unfiltered. Oh god, I'm horrible at names. The guy's name I used, To the Brain.
Oh, To the Brain, Marcelo.
Oh, Zach is awesome, but
Yeah,
To the Brain, Marcelo. Yes,
Yeah,
Marcelo.
yeah.
Dude, I was like, damn, thank you so much for letting me use his visuals, because they're so good. And like Juancho's work.
You know him and Natalie are neighbors?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was at Natalie's house interviewing her.
Yeah.
He wasn't outside. And I'm like, Marcelo, I'm here. And he's like, sorry, I was sleeping. I haven't even met him in person.
When I pull up, because I have another one of my mentees, all three of them are neighbors. I text them all three. I'm like, yo, I'm here. And just like,
awesome.
yeah, just say like.
Yeah, but see, like, I feel like those visuals for that specific story made the story.
Yeah.
With that, just showing the way he edited it. I tried to include a little bit of the music, just the style of it. It really made the story.
But he's speaking from his lens, because he grew up across the street from Summit Apartments in Libby Lake. So it's like, this is what he's seeing. You know what I mean? So it's like he has an eye for the city, the way that you can only explain it the same way that you, Daniel, and Andres, and the MadStrange team shows the city. It's like, you guys grew up here. So it's like, it's not like we're trying. This is just, you're intentional, but it's like, this is just, this is the lens that we see our city through.
Through his eyes.
Yeah. But no, one thing I was going to say, like, about like when you go to his music video shoots, I think I've been to like one or two, like you see black people, you see Samoan people, you see Mexican people, like, and everyone's like having a good time to his music, and like and he's bringing people together that probably wouldn't like necessarily spend that much time together, because video shoot can take a long time.
Yeah, and some of them get tricky. Some of the video shoots, like the Little Rob shoot.
Yeah.
There's somebody there asking him why he had the red swoosh on his Nike, and I was just like, "Hey, man, like it gets crazy when you bring a bunch of people together that don't usually kick it, So for me, it's like it's a lot to think of when you're shooting a video or putting something together, Especially being from Oceanside, it's more than just, okay, I need a camera, I need a crew. No, I also got to think about the people and where they're from, and if they're gonna get along, the neighborhood I'm in. Is it okay to shoot here? Do I have permission to shoot here? It's a lot.
But man, this dude got like, I don't know, when I put up to the Dub C one, you had like 5 cameramen?
Oh yeah, it's like I said, some of them are bigger productions than other. Like sometimes I'll have a bunch of cameramen, or sometimes I'll have somebody just go shoot B-roll of the city. And
That's awesome. I think, like this is a production, so I feel like that's something people want to, be involved in and go to. do you think, like you just mentioned that conflict, right? Like you have to think about the people and are they going to get along? Do you think that's like a reflection of what's still going on in the city? Do you think those conflicts are still very much alive?
Some of them are, but I mean, it's seldomly something, you know, happens at one of my shoots. But for the most part, like a lot of Oceanside, like, you know, um they've come to, like, I guess, accept each other. So majority of the time at my shoots, it's cool, you know, everyone's getting along. But I still do think that there's tension here and there sometimes, you know, and I can't really say if I can't really speak on it, but I do sense that there's a little bit of tension still.
But also, like, his music's very, like, it puts the vibe of, like,
It's
yo,
not really
yeah.
like
I'm here. We're
a
short.
lot of my music is really like up tempo, uplifting.
And everyone knows, like, the purpose, like whatever displays in that music video, we're pretty much like, this is going to go out to the world, and we're like showing what Oceanside is, because like your videos now are averaging 150,000, 200,000 views, like.
Yeah, it's doing. I mean, things are going pretty good right now.
Yeah.
But it took some time.
It's pretty good, right?
To really
like,
get there.
I mean, he's got a lot of videos at a million, but like.
Yeah, it took some time to average like that number, you know, because for a long time, like some that was putting out was like not really like. It's crazy that how like fast a spotlight will go, you know, as soon as you get it. So one video will do numbers and the next one will not do good at all.
Like, for me, I mean, obviously, like, it's different.
Like, how do you? Hold on.
I saw him one time, just real quick. I saw him one time. He's like, yeah, man, I'm a little bummed, man. That video only got 40,000 like in the first week.
Like for you though, but for you, like, like, have you ever spent like a lot of time on like something you covered and like nobody like cared about it, and then there's something where like you did it just to do it, and then people were like, oh wow, that was amazing, you know, what you did with that, and it's like. It's the same, you know, for me. But how do you feel about that? Like,
yeah, you know, like for the resilience shoot, that one was tough. Like you said, I went out 3 times, and we were very limited on the B-roll because the kids couldn't be on camera.
Yeah, blurry all their faces.
Like I'm like, Jimmy, how I don't have a story here if I have no B-roll, and so he's all like,
the one that she covered, he had graduated a program. You've met him. He's come here a lot, man. He's got a big personality. We went to the boxing gym. This dude took his shirt off, like, because she can film him. This dude had no shirt on. He was in there like he was right next to the camera.
Yeah, no, he was told. I had to go to the boxing gym. I was like, I need some video.
But knowing him, that was just like. And I told her, I was like, look, man, this dude's probably gonna take his shirt off. Like he's like Bishop, bro. Like, I was like,
this dude's probably.
But then I told you, I said, look, he's probably
gonna take his shirt off.
He's got big personality. He's gonna try to interview you.
Yeah, oh yeah, Aki, he's awesome. Yeah, but you know, I didn't expect that story to really take off like it did because I was just so limited on the video and the Oceanside story, which I'm really proud of. There's certain things that I would have changed, you know, that went through my editor that I wasn't too happy about, but that one was the longest story I've done. It was a 2-parter. It took me like 3 weeks, I think, to get everything together because of the history and all the different elements. But I was proud of that one, and I was a little, you know, taken back as to how the community was going to respond to it because, man, I get mean stuff all the time with my work, and I got a lot of mean emails when I called Oceanside Ocean Slime.
You said from Ocean Slime to Gentrification.
Something like that. But, you know, I'm just like, damn, like, they don't know I'm from here, so I don't mean it in a, you know, bad way.
I mean, that's what people used to like call it, Ocean Slime. Not everyone, but it was just like that was a term that people like. Some people embraced it. They were like, "Yo, let's keep Oceanside like, you know, let's keep it like that. We don't want the logos of like."
But back to what you were saying with the only having limited resources for, you know, certain like articles, and then they do better with limited resources, and sometimes that's how it is, you know. For me, it's like some songs that I do are very minimal. Do better than songs that I like thought out and took like a week to write. You know, I could write a song in like 30 minutes and it'll do better than like something I really took my time at. That's why I was asking that.
Yeah, no, it's funny how it, you know, it turns out that way. But like, how do you feel about that? You know, like thinking back to this young kid selling CDs from the high school, like how do you feel with how things have changed now, like digitally, and how much you've grown?
I think with the help of my team, I don't want to say that they're geniuses, but adapting to hard copy, hard disk, CD to the digital age, man, my team was on top of it, and I was actually not just like the first out here in the city, but like in the county that was like releasing so much content and videos and really utilizing the YouTube platform or my social media platforms. I was doing it like early on, and I was lucky to be able to do that because things have changed so much, from like being outside and selling my CD at the Sunset Market to selling CDs in Japan over the internet. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
Where does Dezzy see himself in 5 years?
In 5 years.
Because I'm going to come back in 5 years and we're going to do this whole thing.
In 5 years, this right here is going to be like 4 units, or matter of fact, this whole thing is going to be ours.
The Walmart?
The Walmart, that's going to be my Walmart too. Everything is going to be ours. In 5 years, for sure.
MadStrange Plaza.
No, for sure. I see some big things happening, especially not just for me, but for the city developing as well. Like, it's going to be, man, 5 years, things are going to be crazy, along with myself and along with Jimmy and along with you. Things are just going to be, they're going to grow. Things are going to grow.
Do you feel like you're always going to, kind of, like, stick to your roots, like in Oceanside? Do you feel like if, you're going to become this very successful star in person, do you feel like you're always going to kind of bring that back home?
I think everything that I win on my awards, I'm going to be thanking Oceanside because that's what got me to where I'm at, is that I was able to talk about Oceanside, and people fall in love with my music and they can't really categorize it, but the best way I describe it is that it's an Oceanside production. It's Oceanside music. Everything's done in Oceanside, like the visuals, like the writing, the recording, everything's Oceanside. It's an Oceanside production. So I for as long as my career goes, I have to thank the city and Oceanside for even my upbringing and being able to be so diverse because of the culture in Oceanside. I owe everything to Oceanside.
Do you think that limits you?
No.
Like, do you think that, maybe, I don't know, like holding you back almost, like not stepping outside?
I think if you're good at something, it doesn't matter, like, people are going to get behind it. You know what I'm saying? Like, people, like I was saying, like, people from, like, different countries are, like, buying my music. And it's not like I'm rapping about, like, Los Angeles. Yeah. It's not like I'm rapping about San Diego. I'm rapping about Oceanside. And people from different countries are buying it. People that's from crazy, different countries are bumping it.
Yeah. You just had a review out of someone from London or something?
Out of London, yeah. And it's crazy that, like, you don't have to, like, pretend or feel like you're in a box to try to, you know what I'm saying, like, figure things out, how to expand. Like, if you're really talented and you're really, really determined, it doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter what setup you're using. It doesn't matter, it just matters about your work ethic. And I think that people are going to be gravitated toward how hard I work and how bad I want to get to where I'm going to go.
And you got producers from, like, the Middle East or something like that, right? And like, I
know some songs are produced, out of state, out of country. But for the most part, everything's Oceanside, man.
Yeah. That's so awesome. No, that's super cool. I guess I didn't know how all the stuff behind it, London and the Middle East.
You said that they close like at 5. That's because, like, these dudes work on creating the graphics for the shirts themselves, and then they're working on Dezzy's music after 5.
It's more than
No, because it's like the same person who runs the cash. Well, if it's not Big B, it's Andres running the cashier, but he designs all the shirts, designs all his cover art for, like, everything that comes out, like, in regards to his music, takes the photos. Daniel does all the videos, plus they're running the store. They got the soccer store as well, and everyone pitches in. The same person folding shirts at 12 o'clock may be the same person holding the camera at 7 p.m. and bringing the lights. Yeah.
Where is Andres? Because I'm like a little curious as to, you've told me a lot about him, right? And I think people obviously know about MadStrange, and Dezzy is like the perfect spokesperson too for it. But, like, they're very humble about it, and they always, I feel like, stay in the shadows of it.
Yeah. You hear about these people, especially in, like, my interviews, but you'll never see them. Main reason is because they're doing their job. They're always working. They're never around because they're working. And everybody does their own thing. I'm the only one that's, like, so seen because my job is to be behind the camera or in front of the camera. But everybody else, they know what their job is, and that's why you don't see them, They're all working.
Yeah, editing, like
Yeah.
they're always editing like 5 to 6 different projects. Even like with the podcast, I'm like, all right, I'll get to them because I know they got Dezzy's video coming up. They got Stephanie's video. Like now that there's new like artists, they got Bishop's. Like so, it's just like, and I know that they have a pop-up shop, and so it's just
That's
like,
awesome.
and it's like 5 people.
It's so much work.
Yeah.
People have told me like, oh, you should start a vlog, and you know what? Especially when I had the twins, people were like, dude, that would be perfect. Like, document your journey and you becoming a reporter and all
It's a
that
lot of
stuff.
work.
I'm like, fuck no.
Hey,
Sorry, I'm just like,
hold up, we got Hunt on here, though.
No, I feel you on that.
We can help.
I
Hunt
totally
can
feel
help
you on that. Like,
like
the
you want me
lead-
to be here and be like, oh, you know, like I'm like,
and,
oh
and,
my
it, and it
God.
becomes less of like a job and more of like, okay, now you're filming my lifestyle. And I've tried, believe me, I tried the podcast and it's so hard. It's so hard to be like, damn, like I'm not fully shaved today. I don't want to be on camera, you know, like it gets crazy, you know.
No, and
or-
the editing, it's one thing. I have so much footage of stuff that I've shot.
Do
like,
you edit?
I edit.
You edit?
I edit. And so I'm telling you, I have like footage and like tracks of things I've recorded, and I haven't gotten to edit it.
Yeah.
It's like stuff that I shot in Europe, and I interviewed like this cute little nun. But I'm like, fuck, I gotta go through all the files and listen to that an hour-long interview back again and cut here, and you know, it's a lot of work. And don't get me wrong, people take off, like people, you know, with the vlogs
yeah,
and
for sure, yeah.
what's that one family, the cute little family that like is like super rich now. I don't know, super cute on YouTube. They like, you know, took off and they have like all this money now. And my nieces, you know, they're a younger generation. They're like, that could be you. You could be an influencer. I'm like, girl, that's a lot of work.
Yo, today I went into the bathroom, and my daughter was like, my youngest was jumping on the bed, and she was like singing, and I didn't know she had a camera inside the bathroom, faced up against the mirror, facing her, in my wife's bedroom, and I go to close the door, and she's like, Dad, what are you doing? And I was like, wait, what? And I saw the camera, and I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, I'll use the other bathroom then. And then
I'll use the other
and then she was like,
bathroom,
sorry, world, my dad.
Sorry, world. Oh, sorry, world.
And you know, it does. She just we have these. I'll look at my phone like throughout the day, and I'll have like this 30-minute video of like my daughter just like, hey world, today we're gonna.
She's like vlogging.
Yeah, it's like,
It is just on your regular
but for them,
camera.
it's normal because this is like the world that they're being introduced to. You know what I mean? And so.
Oh, that's like the new thing. I mean, with TikToks and even I think, you know, news is really evolving. I think all this talk about the NFTs and digital and the metaverse, things are changing. And I think because everyone has this little phone and the cameras and look at you guys, like you have an entire production here. You know, I don't know. Are they going to need the KPBSs, the Fox 5, the Channel 10s? Because so many people are becoming, you know, journalists just with their phone. They're reporting stuff. I mean, it's made a huge difference, right? Like, look at...
Yeah, but there's quality. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's what separates... if you do it enough, you're obviously the experience is gonna develop that quality. But like what you do is quality. You know what I mean? And so when you see your stories, it's like it's not just you having a camera and saying, "Oh, this is going on." Like you do your research, you're interviewing people, then you gather all the facts, and it's like, okay, this is. I've even talked to you, like you called me and said, "Hey, this is like the way I want to develop this story," and then I later on see the story, and it's like, oh man, she did her homework. That's quality. Like the stuff that he does, he's not just. You know, 2 people out there with like an iPhone, like, no, it's like they got lighting, they got a team, and then, 2 weeks of editing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, before the video comes out? Mm-hmm. But like, while that video is being edited, they're already shooting the next video, and then like, they just have them, like, but it's quality.
It is. You know, no, I you know, definitely to be very fair and get your facts straight, because at the end of the day, that's what I have to do, right, is get the facts straight. But I think the raw videos, right? Like there's been so many documentations of police brutality, and that has made such a difference in just, I think, changing the world. Like now we're holding people accountable.
Yeah.
Right? It's like there's this video of you know, beating this man up. Like what's your response?
Right.
Without that video that some person shot on their phone, how do you hold people accountable? So now people are like, oh, I got to be careful about what I say, what I do. You know, the cameras. So I think, you know, things are changing with these little phones that we have, and just the documentation people are taking. It's I think making a difference. I do.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I do want to ask, like, for other young aspiring like Latinas or people that want to, or girls or anyone that like from Oceanside, Center Street, or what would you say to someone that wants to pursue their dream and also like pursue journalism? Like, what's like a word of advice or encouragement that you would give?
I think just, follow your dream, your heart. I think, put yourself in uncomfortable situations. I think that was the biggest thing for me. I grew up here in North County, Oceanside, Vista. When I graduated, I could have easily, I went to Maricosta Community College, got my AA there, and I could have easily gone to Cal State San Marcos, right? But I decided to go to Cal State Fullerton to just kind of step outside of home, of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I didn't know a single person in Orange County. And so when I decided to go and I honestly just took a chance. I said, if I make it in news, cool. If not, I'm going to go back to do real estate, go back to corporate America. And so I think just put yourself in uncomfortable situations, because that's the only way you grow, and believe in yourself. And I think, like Dezzy, like if you're passionate about something and you pursue it, hard work does pay off,
Yeah. You have to be consistent for sure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where you're from. I mean, you do have to, it does take work. It doesn't matter where you're from. Don't let that limit you, and just, but step outside of, where you live and where you're from. Talk to people. If you look up to somebody, talk to them, reach out, because, as a journalist, that's something that they did tell us. Like, if there's someone you look up to, talk to them, because now I have, students that are graduating and wanting to be reporters, and they're reaching out to me, and I'm so happy to help them. Like, come along, come help me carry my camera.
And that's powerful too. That you can empower somebody else. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, that's a very dope position to be
Yeah,
in.
because I think most of the time, like, I think if people look up to you, I think you're more than willing to mentor,
Right.
someone that's looking to follow your steps. Like,
Right.
you're like, yes, like, let me help you.
Yeah, set alone for mentor. Like, usually when a lot of people like reach out to me for advice, and man, I'll sit there and like I'll write out like I'll explain to them, and I'll give them my best perspective. But I try to like give advice to everybody I can. But yeah, there's a lot of people that would love to have your opinion and a little bit of some of what you have. You have experience, and people want that.
There's value in it.
Oh, yeah.
You develop the value where people are like, they understand that, they appreciate it, they respect it, and it's inspiring. So, all right, man. Well, thank you.
Thank
for
you,
coming out.
of
We
course.
appreciate
Always
you,
a pleasure.
And we value your
No,
perspective
and
your
thank
time.
you for the work you're doing. Thank you for being a voice for our city. I mean, people know you and look up to you, and it's a lot of pressure, because if you have this platform, you have to utilize it
Right.
in smart ways to benefit your people, your community. Just to do the right things and keep that culture here. So thank you, and thank you for the work you're doing, because I'm here to just document it and highlight you guys.
I appreciate it. I'll be calling.
Yeah, I know you will.
But it's all love, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it.
It's a wrap.
Yeah.